Now we're going to guide you through a variety of techniques using the HYPERSPHERE to enhance exercise effectiveness through increased muscle activation. Now we're going to go through some techniques where you can use the HYPERSPHERE to enhance muscle activation in the upper extremity. The great thing about the HYPERSPHERE is that the vibration will stimulate some reflexive stabilization contractions around the shoulder complex. When you think about the function of the rotator cuff and the other shoulder stabilizers, the vibration stimulus is going to cause those muscles to contract, which is exactly what we need for stability of the shoulder. As we discussed before, when you're looking to enhance muscle activation, typically you would utilize frequencies on the higher end of the spectrum, so anything above 30 hertz. However, in an open chain environment where you're holding onto the HYPERSPHERE, it might be beneficial to start with level 1 initially, because that slower vibration is going to create more amplitude, and that greater amplitude is going to translate to greater reflexive contraction through the shoulder. And then as a progression, if you're looking to enhance muscle activation and force production through the upper extremity, you can then progress to levels 2 and 3. So this is an instance where you might utilize level 1 prior to going to level 2 and 3 when looking to enhance stability through the upper extremity. First thing we'll do is we'll have Justin turn the HYPERSPHERE on to level 1. And again, with level 1, we're going to get a little bit greater amplitude, which is going to magnify the effect and hopefully stimulate a greater reflexive contraction through the shoulder. Now we're going to go through 3 patterns here, and I'm just going to demonstrate them before I have Justin go through them. The first pattern we're going to do is a scaption. So really, instead of a front raise or a lateral raise, we're going to go right in between the two and do a shoulder raise in the scapular plane. And the scapular plane is the plane at which the shoulder blade rests on the rib cage. So it can be really beneficial for these upper extremity movements. And for clients who may have limited mobility in the shoulder, this plane of motion, the scapular plane, might be easier for them to perform that arm raise. From there, we're going to come down from the scaption to about chest height, and then we're going to go through some horizontal abduction, which is going to get some activation of the middle and lower trapezius. We're also going to get some lengthening through the anterior aspect of the trunk. And then the final movement is going to be from this chest height position as well. We're going to return the arms from this abducted position to in front of the body, and then we'll finish with some shoulder extension and external rotation along with some scapular retraction and depression. So we're going to get some of the mid-trap and lower trap with the scapular retraction and depression, and then we're going to finish with some shoulder extension and external rotation. So really challenging the muscles that stabilize the scapula and the shoulder complex. To progress these exercises, you can have the client lean forward so they're resisting gravity a little bit more from a standing position, and then for an even greater degree of difficulty and a more advanced progression, you can have your client do this while laying prone on a stability ball, so they really have to resist gravity at that point. So the first movement we'll go through, Justin, is that scaption or V-raise. So you're going to come right out at that 45-degree angle, as high as you can control. You're going to hold there for 1 to 2 seconds. We want to make sure when your clients do this that they don't flare the ribs up and that they keep good stability through the trunk, as well as not arching the back a whole lot. Then he's going to bring the arms down to chest height, pause, and then he's going to go right back into horizontal abduction. So we're getting some good lengthening through the anterior aspect of the trunk, and we're getting some good activation through the posterior shoulder and scapular muscles. Then he's going to bring the arms back out in front. Very good. And then he's going to finish by bringing the arms right down to the sides of his body while squeezing the shoulder blades back. Again, we want to cue the core to stay nice and tight. We want to make sure the head stays in a nice neutral position. And then from there, we're just going to go right into repetition number 2. So we're going to raise up, hold 1 to 2 seconds, and he's going to come down, straight back into horizontal abduction, 1 to 2 seconds, and then he's going to finish with that shoulder extension, external rotation, and scapular retraction. Now, if you didn't want to do those in series, one right after the other, you could do a set number of repetitions for each movement individually. So you could go through 10 repetitions of the scaption, 10 repetitions of horizontal abduction, and 10 repetitions of that shoulder external rotation and scapular retraction. So there's some great upper extremity movement patterns that you can leverage the vibration to enhance some reflexive stability contractions through the shoulder. As mentioned previously, if you want to progress the intensity of the vibration or the frequency of the As mentioned before, if you want to progress the intensity or frequency of the vibration to get some enhanced muscle activation, you can always increase the settings to level 2 or level 3. Another progression that you can utilize to enhance the difficulty and stabilization demand through the hips and core is have your client perform these movements while standing on one leg. So by reducing their base of support, it's going to force their hip and core to work a little bit harder to stabilize them while they're moving their upper extremity through these different patterns. Another exercise you can use to enhance stability of the upper extremity, particularly the muscles around the shoulder and scapula, is a PNF pattern. So PNF is a spiral pattern, and the HYPERSPHERE is great to utilize for this, again, because of the vibration. The vibration at a lower setting with a little bit higher amplitude can help stimulate those reflexive muscle contractions while performing this upper body pattern. So when your clients are performing the PNF, you want them to basically take their hand from the opposite hip across the body and above their head. So you're going to go from an internally rotated position at the shoulder at the start up to an externally rotated position at the finish. And you're just going to have them continue that movement for the recommended number of repetitions. For enhanced challenge and stabilization demand, you can have your client perform this exercise standing on one leg. And then you can also incorporate some lower extremity movement patterns, such as a single leg Romanian deadlift up to this PNF pattern. So as a progression, you can start to make this more functional and more total body in nature by including some of those lower extremity patterns.